Welcome to Tuesday Newsday, your #1 resource for the entire week's worth of VR news. Gabe Newell talks about standalone headsets from Valve regarding Deckard and Steam Deck. HTC reveals its version of the metaverse, VIVEVERSE, and it's pretty sus. The problem of kids in the metaverse and VRCHAT, and probably the biggest partnership of the year that will affect the coming years of virtual reality was just announced. That and so much more, but first, did you know that the term metaverse actually came from a 1992 fiction story, Snow Crash? And it wasn't exactly a pretty vision, pretty dystopian even, but it did get quite a bit right about how a world in VR would look and how we'd operate within it. Check this out.
He is not seeing real people, of course. The people are pieces of software called avatars. They are the audio-visual bodies that people use to communicate with each other in the metaverse.
And what you just listened to is how I listened to Snow Crash on Audible, this video sponsor. And it's actually really cool that Audible is supporting my content because I've been an Audible user for years, and it's how I listened to Ready Player One and the History of Oculus audiobook, History of the Future. And it's helped build my knowledge of VR through listening to audiobooks and learning. Plus, they've got thousands of other titles from other authors. And if you check out audible.com/thrill or text thrill to 500-500, you can get a free title of your choice and try Audible for 30 days free. So definitely check it out. Actually, one of my favorite things to do is chill in a nice VRChat world and listen to a nice audiobook. Extremely relaxing, but now back to the video. And finally, the news. First up this week, let's talk about Valve and any sort of upcoming VR headset from them. I don't mean to let anyone down that's sitting waiting for a new Valve Index 2, but I don't think we're gonna get anything super soon. However, that doesn't mean Valve isn't working on something pretty big. So last year, there were tons of leaks and hype for the supposed Valve Deckard, a standalone VR headset from Valve that through patents, and sadly it's Bradley's findings, showed a pretty incredible VR headset. Possibly modular, standalone with hybrid PC VR functionality, new tracking techniques, crazy advanced lenses. Long story short, the patents detailed Valve's next headset as something pretty powerful and definitely game-changing. And it was thought that it's pretty likely that within the next year, Valve may announce something to replace the nearly 3-year-old Valve Index, but I think it's time we hamper expectations at least a little bit for a Deckard release or announcement window. Right now, as a laser-tracked PC VR headset, nothing really does what the Valve Index does for the price or poses direct competition in its niche segment, so indexes will probably just keep selling, and that means that Valve has no reason to release anything new. And honestly, Valve has its hands completely full with the Steam Deck right now, the launch delayed until this week, with pre-orders reaching all the way until the end of this year, but like I said, Valve are working on something, and that something is pretty much confirmed to be a standalone VR headset like we suspected, running similar Steam Deck hardware. Here's this week from Gabe Newell, quote, "You know, all of these things relate to each other, right? A lot of the technology that we might be using in future versions of that comes, you know, from technology that we have to develop for VR. And then if you flip it around and look at that as a highly performant mobile PC gaming device, you sort of say, well, can't I have that in a tetherless integrated VR solution?" End quote. And so I'd probably say that the Index will survive another year before being replaced by Valve, but you never know. All we do know is they are working on something, and it's just likely some ways out, and they're gonna focus on the Steam Deck for now. In other news, something massive was just announced that will likely rock the consumer and enterprise VR industry. MWC 2022 just kicked off on Sunday, and Qualcomm had a couple pretty big things to bring to the table. One in the form of Wi-Fi 7. Supposedly 60% faster than Wi-Fi 6, utilizing 2.4, 5, and 6 GHz bands simultaneously, with a pretty impressive bandwidth. This was obviously directly brought up to supplement low latency, high resolution streaming of VR content, which makes sense. As resolution of VR headsets increase, so does the amount of data being transferred. The new Fast Connect 7800 is faster, 50% more power efficient, and has more bandwidth for exactly that type of purpose. But there was a bigger announcement, and that comes in the form of a publicized partnership between Qualcomm, Pico Interactive, and ByteDance. ByteDance currently being the parent company of TikTok and the recent purchaser of Pico entirely. And some quick background. Pico and the Pico Neo 3 are probably the most direct competitors apples to apples with the Quest 2. The Neo 3 containing the exact resolution, same Qualcomm XR2 processor, and a similar app catalog, and surprisingly, also a similar price to the Quest 2, as long as you live outside of the US, that is. Pico and ByteDance very likely will be the largest global competitor to Meta and the Quest 2 within the metaverse if it isn't already. And this is further cemented by Qualcomm's partnership with Pico to develop hardware and software not only for VR devices but also AR. And this is kind of bittersweet, to be honest. I have talked on and on about how we need competition in the VR landscape. Meta currently has complete market dominance on the entire VR industry in terms of numbers at least, which is bad for a wide variety of reasons, but grass isn't always greener on the other side. For as many not so great things Meta has done, from monopolistic tactics to mass social manipulation, ByteDance isn't any better. Known to be a censorship machine, limiting free speech for socio-political agendas, also controlled by a government not exactly known for its willingness to uphold human rights, I really don't know if either of these two giants' metaverses are ones that I would ever want to live in. But another problem is that it's growing increasingly difficult for any smaller company to sprout up at all without getting crushed or bought out by these giants. This partnership is both exciting and scary because it likely will really go places. Pico already has practically an identical headset to the Quest 2, and it's selling at pretty much the same price, and I can imagine Pico will maintain that competition and likely even expand it to the West eventually. We're watching two giant companies slowly build up arms for a clash for global XR market share dominance right before us, and neither are really great news. The exciting part about this though is if you're a VR fan, one really great thing that comes with competition are usually great strides in innovation. And when ByteDance and Meta do finally start duking it out globally like they already are with Facebook and TikTok, we're gonna see some pretty insane progressions in AR and VR technology. Either way, this sounds small, and this likely isn't going to be all that hot of a subject. There aren't any new flashy headsets to buy or software to use, but this partnership right here is probably one of the biggest things that will happen in 2022 for the XR industry and will likely shape the next 5 to 10 years of VR entirely, and of course the eventual consumerization of AR. We've got some interesting few years ahead of us, and I'm really excited to see where this global competition takes us. And I don't know, some sort of global decentralized metaverse is starting to sound better and better, but now it's time for a meme break. So I recently got all excited for this notification when what looks like a legit Oculus Twitter account followed me, and I guess Gamertag VR saw the same thing. Then I remembered the Oculus Twitter account is dead and it's now called Meta. So wait, what is this? Oh, okay, that's actually pretty good, not gonna lie. But now, back to the news. Last week, the PSVR 2 was officially unveiled, and it looks pretty sleek, great specs, impressive features. On paper, the PSVR 2 is looking to be a pretty great VR headset, and I assumed given the recent outpour of information from Sony that a launch later this year was likely, but it seems, according to PSVR Without Parole, that the PSVR 2 will not be reaching shelves until Q1 of 2023. Of course, take this with a grain of salt as the sources weren't confirmed, but his channel has been correct about numerous other leaks regarding PSVR 2. And the main reason for 2023 being the date is the ever-maintaining shortage of PS5s, and Sony wanting to get the console in more people's hands before launching PSVR 2. The only problem I see here is Sony missing Christmas, and only by a few months, which seems like an oversight to me considering how well VR normally does around holiday seasons, unless Sony is planning on a big boost of PS5 sales to pitch VR 2 after they get consoles for Christmas. Either way, if this is true, we can probably count on another big Quest miss this year. So this now feels like forever ago, but we all know that last year Meta changed their name and gave an hour-long presentation on their vision of the metaverse. And now HTC Vive has given their own in the form of the recent VIVEVERSE trailer titled VIVEVERSE, a day in the metaverse with VR, AR, AI, 5G, and NFTs. And it's probably one of the weirdest things I've ever seen HTC put together. It's a 3-minute mashup of bad animation animation, weird CGI effects, NFT, and Bitcoin purchases. It was all just really odd and served better as a parody of the metaverse and VR, as if it was a joke, but it wasn't. And the internet didn't take kindly to HTC's VIVEVERSE. They quickly turned off comments, got huge backlash on Twitter, and I'm sure that if we could still see the dislike bar on YouTube, it'd be in heavy opposition to this video. Come on, YouTube, let me just have a few seconds of satisfaction knowing that we all hate this. Yeah, but all in all, not that much to talk about other than how silly it all was and how people pretty much universally disliked this portrayal of AR and VR, and it was just really low quality. But moving on. VRChat recently had its biggest update in a long time, enabling a lot for the platform, and I mean a lot. It's basically everything we've been asking for years. With the new OSC API, you're now able to implement all sorts of things to your avatar like eye tracking, face tracking, external inputs for all sorts of other changes to your avatar, and maybe even support for other hardware. Basically, it just allows you to do way more with VRChat without breaking TOS and running clients. Also, in a recent beta update, VRChat now has support for 10 tracking points, allowing for far higher quality full body tracking. I just got a chance to actually give it a go, and I gotta say it's fantastic. Definitely the best and biggest VRChat update we have gotten in years, and it just allows people to do more. But VRChat was in the news for other reasons, bigger, more problematic reasons. This BBC article's title, quote, "Metaverse app allows kids into virtual strip clubs," end quote. The piece was written after a researcher posed as a 13-year-old girl and witnessed a variety of things that would be wildly inappropriate for a 13-year-old under any circumstance. And this actually brings up a massive problem with VRChat, Rec Room, and really any application that does anything similar, bringing you into a virtual world with other people in places that are user-generated. Just the nature of VRChat brings all sorts of people from all over the world of all ages and different backgrounds, which can be a beautiful thing, but it can also be a very ugly thing. And the problem is here. Children mix freely with adults. Kids with little to no parental moderation are logging into VRChat when they really should not be. Seriously, VRChat is not a place for kids. It can be an amazing place, but that's just not a place for kids. But this is also a bigger issue with moderation as well. There are no age checks or verifications. There's no real warning for users. It's just a hodgepodge of sometimes very inappropriate internet culture. And I guess the absolute best course of action here is to promote much better parental supervision in VR, and to set the standard. Children just shouldn't be in VRChat flat out. If you didn't know, now you know. Supervise your children, please. And if you are a host of some of these similar venues within VR, check the people in your lobby as well. Do your self-moderation. Please, we don't need this, it's avoidable, and it's the right thing to do. Parental supervision and better moderation of your worlds. It can avoid a lot of hurt and a lot of pain and a lot of weird stuff from happening. But now for question of the week from VRCHAT. Do you think not tracking at all and just using sensors like accelerometer and gyro might be enough for fully functional headsets to be playable? And, okay, but basically what you're describing is old 3 Degree of Freedom VR like Google Cardboard or the Oculus Go. Technically, yes, it is a functional tracked headset, but not spatially like you'd expect from a modern headset to be tracked. You're gonna want 6 off, and cameras are cheap. And that's question of the week. Make sure to leave your own down below in the comments section. I am having a massive meetup this month in collaboration with FIA and Tube, so join my Discord for more information on that. Thank you to all of my Patreon supporters, especially my Omegas. I couldn't do any of this without you. Don't forget to like this video if you loved it, subscribe if you want more of this, and hit that freaking bell if you just can't live without it. Much love, Thrill out.